On any construction project, profitability can start slipping away before you've even poured the first yard of concrete. And it's usually not the big-ticket items that do the damage. It's that hidden overhead. The 1,000 little cuts can bleed a project dry. So today, we're going to uncover these costs and figure out how to get them under control.
So where is all that margin disappearing to, right? Most people, they'll point to things like material price spikes or labor overruns. And look, those are absolutely major risks, but they often aren't the first leak in the boat.
The real culprit? It's your general conditions. These are all those essential but, indirect costs that are just notoriously difficult to pin down. They are the silent margin killers, and it's time we put a spotlight on them.
Okay, so first things first, let's get crystal clear on what general conditions actually are. Because let's be honest, a fuzzy definition is pretty much the first step toward a busted budget. So let's define our terms.
The best way to think about general conditions is like the project's operating system. They're not the steel or the glass, the hardware, but without them, literally nothing happens. They're all those essential, indirect costs, everything from the project manager's salary to the temporary site fencing that make the actual work possible.
Now, this next part is absolutely crucial. People mix up general requirements and general conditions all the time. The owner's specs, that's the general requirements. They tell you what needs to be done. General conditions, on the other hand, are the contractor's plan for how you're going to do it, and most importantly, what that plan is going to cost. It's really the difference between the rulebook and the actual game plan.
And believe me, that game plan covers a ton of ground. We're talking about all your project management and communication, your site logistics, things like trailers, security, utilities, all the permits and regulations, a robust safety program, and of course, all the paperwork for a clean project closeout. Every single one of these is a critical line item.
So, if these costs are so essential, why are they so dang hard to control? Let's dive into exactly where and why the budget for general conditions just so often goes off the rails.
Here's the key thing you have to remember. Most general conditions are tied directly to time. Your site trailer rentals, your PM's salary, security services, these are things you're paying for by the week or by the month. So any little scheduled delay automatically inflates these costs. In this world, time isn't just like money, it's a direct cost multiplier.
And this quote from the AGC, well, it really highlights a huge risk: inexperience. A firm that doesn't fully get the project's complexity might underbid the general conditions just to win the job. And what does that do? It sets completely false expectations and pretty much guarantees a lot of painful conversations when reality hits.
These failures, they happen for pretty predictable reasons. You get a vague scope in the RFP that leaves way too much open to interpretation. Or maybe you underestimate the logistical nightmare of a remote site or the impact of a harsh winter. But you want to know the biggest unforced error we see? Treating general conditions as just a simple percentage of the total job cost, instead of building a detailed, bottoms-up estimate based on what the project actually needs.
All right, enough about the problems, let's talk solutions. This is all about shifting from being reactive to being proactive, using the same strategies that winning teams use to get a handle on these costs from day one.
Look, a professional estimate is not guesswork. It's a process. It's methodical. First, you start with your baseline, the standard stuff you need on any project. Step 2, you absolutely dissect the project manual for any unique requirements. Then you adjust for the realities of that specific site, the location, the access. And finally, you fine-tune the whole thing with real historical data from similar jobs you've done. This 4-step method is how you turn a wild guess into a reliable forecast.
Now, here is a really powerful tool for creating clarity: the fee and general conditions matrix. By including a simple table like this in the RFP, an owner can make sure every single bidder is pricing the same things in the same buckets. Is the project manager's salary a GC cost, or is it part of the fee? This matrix completely eliminates that ambiguity, so you can actually do a true apples-to-apples comparison of the proposals.
And make this a bit more tangible. Just think about something like an internal traffic control plan. You know, how vehicles and equipment and people are going to move around the job site. This is a classic general condition. A bad plan leads to delays, and worse, accidents. A great plan, though, is a direct investment in safety and efficiency. It's a perfect example of a general condition that requires detailed planning, not just a random number on a spreadsheet.
So all of this brings us to our final and, frankly, most important point. All these tools, all these strategies, they all point to one truth. The battle for your project's margin is won or lost long before you ever break ground. It's all about planning early so you can win late. This timeline here shows the strategic trade-off around the guaranteed maximum price, or GMP. If you set the GMP really early when there's less design detail, the contractor takes on more risk, and so they're going to need a larger contingency. But if you wait until the design is complete, the risk is much lower, and so is the contingency. Now, there's no single right answer here, but understanding this trade-off is absolutely critical for managing financial risk.
And that's exactly why every dollar and every hour you spend on pre-construction is not a cost, it's an investment. It pays for itself multiple times over through fewer change orders, fewer delays, and fewer disputes down the line. What you're really doing is buying predictability for your project.
And that really is the ultimate takeaway. Thinking about general conditions as just some number you need to minimize is completely missing the point. Properly planning, estimating, and managing them isn't about pinching pennies. It's about removing surprises. It's about controlling risk. It is about buying certainty for your project's outcome. And in this business, tell me, what's more valuable than that?